Hey, what's up everybody? So we're back in the font window. We're going to look a little bit more into what certain things mean in the font window and how to organize it and sort these glyphs now that we have a whole bunch of them. Um, so first of all, if you look at the tiles in your font view, you might notice there's little symbols that show up in the lower right. An L means that a glyph has layers, and you can open up the glyph and look in the layers to see exactly what's inside of those if you want. If a glyph has a little red X, that means that this checkbox has been checked, meaning exclude during export, which means this glyph won't be exported into the font when it's generated. And if a glyph has a gray N in it, it means that there's a note left on it. So you can find the notes also in the inspector. What a note essentially is something you want to write down something for later, or leave a note for somebody else who you're working with. That's where you'll be able to do that. And we don't have it in this font, thank goodness, but if we ever had a glyph that for some reason the file got corrupted, there's going to be like a red X across the glyph, and that is not a good sign, and you should look into the cause of that if you have one of those or more in your font. So it usually is some sort of merge issue with a source control file or something with Dropbox or something. It's usually something that something outside of RoboFont did to your UFO. And so if we want to have a look at these two little panels that we can bring up in the views button here, this can help us kind of organize and look and sort our glyph view and help find some glyphs that because sometimes once you get a big font, it might be hard to find certain things. So what we're gonna start off with is pressing this plus button here, and what this means is it kind of brings up a search bar for your font. So if I want to see all the fonts whose name contains the letter capital A, I can do that. Or if it begins with the letter B, just B, begins with the letter C maybe, and it has not some things that are not the C in it, it's a powerful search view. You can look for instance, glyphs that have components, have more components than 0 or more components than 1. This will give you an idea of which glyphs are composed, or if components where the number of components, glyphs where the number of components in it is 0. And you can also add another query onto this where the components number is 0 and the contours is greater than 0. So that will give you glyphs that you've drawn in that are not space, like blank glyphs. And you can choose all these rules are true, any of these are true, or none of these are true. This will give us like the opposite of that query. And so this might be helpful to find all the glyphs where you've actually drawn something and not glyphs that are composed or glyphs that are blank. So we might want to kind of save this for later, and we can do that by clicking Save Set. We'll give this a name where we can just say drawn glyphs. and we have the option of saying a default set or a font set. And what this means is if we click default set, that will be set for your user. It will show up in every font that you open, so it could be good for using as a template. Or font set is just for the font that you're working on right now. So if we say it's a default set, we have a list of, and now we have that list saved. So if we ever want to just kind of, if we're browsing our font, we want to get rid of all the glyphs that have components in it or something, we can just click over to drawn glyphs. And the same we can do for where the components is greater than 0, or maybe say 1, and let's just say 0. So where the components are greater than 0, that means if it's a glyph with just components and contours is 0. We can save that as component glyphs. And it might be helpful to finally check and see if we have a glyph that contains contours and components. That could be kind of a red flag or something. I don't think we have any of those in this font, so we'll just leave it. So we have these as are saved as default sets, and what this little ... means is that we can edit this query at any point to change it. We could also make a set just based on a selection by highlighting a couple of glyphs and saying selection to set, and we can name this like uppercase A to Z. And this is what's called a smart set, and I guess you could call this a dumb set. But this is just a set where you can just edit, the number of glyphs that you want in it, and you can use this as a way to kind of set goals for yourself. So if you have a font where maybe you want to add in you have something like a z.alternate or something, it will tell you that you have 26 out of the 27 glyphs in this list, and so you can set that as a goal for yourself to, fill out all the set, and then you've reached a certain stage in your font design, and you can delete all the sets or export them, load them in, etc. from this menu that's at the bottom of this column down here. You can even make a new folder. Let's say smart sets or something, and you can drag these into that. Having a folder might be useful if you have a lot of them. So when we open up a new font, we'll have a list of these sets ready to go, so we can we don't have to waste time making this list again. And that is working with sets, and I think they're pretty useful. So you can work with sets, and that will get you little slices of the font view, but what is also really helpful is sorting the glyph set in the way that you want. So you could use a button called the setting called Smart Sort, and that will just make a best guess as to what you might want your font sorted as. Let's make this a little bigger. And by default, it kind of goes in upper to lowercase alphabetical order and in nesting, alternates next to each glyph. And if you add another alternate, it will add it in next to that. So it will keep your glyph set sorted in a way that might be pretty logical. Except we have maybe a situation here where we have maybe we wanted it to be sorted differently. And so if we want a little bit more control over what how we want to sort it, we can use this custom sort button. And you have a few options. You have alphabetical, Unicode, script, category block, suffix, decomposition base, weighted suffix, and ligature. And depending on what order you put this in, you'll get a different result. So if we click that and we click OK, it will sort our character set by alphabetical, then by Unicode category, then by actual Unicode value in that category, and so on and so forth. If you say allow pseudo Unicode, it's I believe that means that it will group things that are alternates next to those the base glyphs. So you can mess around a little bit with the order. Let's say weighted suffix maybe. Does that change anything? It changes it a little bit down here. But when we're set with a character set or a sort that we like, we'll probably want to use it for every other style in the font family that we're working on. So for that, we will need to use the last option, which is character set. And there's a drop down which by default only has one option in it, but we can add our custom sort here if we go into preferences, we go over to font overview, and we have this view where we can add a custom sort that we want. So we can import that list from the current font and save it. We can also make it the default for every new font that we start. So if we click apply here and I open up a new font, it'll already be sorted in that order that I want it in. You can import a character set from a text file, essentially. An ENC file is just a list of glyph names separated by lines. Import it from another UFO file, and it will fill it in like that. Current font we did, or from all open fonts, I think it will make like a best guess as to if they don't match what order to go in. That's how you make a custom sort. While you're in here, I would also click these following buttons because it's kind of usually what you want when you delete a glyph. You want to remove it entirely, not have little things hanging around in your groups and kerning. And also, while we're in here, you can adjust the colors that are in this view, just like you could with the glyph view. Usually, I don't see much case to adjust the colors in the same way that we needed to do it for the glyph view, but you can do that here, and you can even adjust whatever the font for the template glyphs are. And so yeah, that's how you work with a character set in RoboFont.